Hey guys, alright, we're here again at Hardracing Performance, and we're going to finish off our front brake upgrade kit with this stainless steel brake line from Moto. Just like the rear ones, this has the grommets already installed in it. Custom made for this application for the Grom with this brake upgrade kit. The grommets will go inside the stock clips front down there and one here on the fender, so no rubbing, no issues. It's going to have specific bends and everything, and it's a little bit longer than the stock one, and you can get this pretty slick color here. So we'll get these installed. First thing you got to do, unfortunately, is remove the headlight as we did here, and then undo the clips here and here and down there. And then what you really want to do is you want to take your master cylinder off of the clip-ons or your handlebars. That way, if you're messing around or drip anything, it doesn't get on your bars. So we'll do that next. Alright, so as we had with the rear line kit, you get, with our custom line kit for the upgrade, you get a coarse threaded banjo bolt for your master cylinder and a fine threaded banjo bolt for your Brembo calipers. Because remember, Brembo uses fine threaded 10.0 or 10 millimeter by 1.0 versus stock is 10 millimeter by 125. So, and if you decide to go with an upgraded Brembo master cylinder, you'll also need to get a fine threaded banjo bolt for that as well. So for right now, we're going to do stock master cylinder, Brembo caliper, which will be a coarse on the top and a fine on the bottom. Alright, so we got the banjo bolt all the way in, cinched down. Now all we want to do is torque it to the right torque, and it's recommended at around 20 foot-pounds. It's enough to crush the crush washers, not too much to break the bolt. So again, support the banjo with your thumb. Don't ever want to break one off. There you go. Cinch nice and tight. Now we'll do the bottom one. Alright, so we got our line mounted up on there. As you can see, there's a little bit of extra room in case you had stock bars or you went higher with some risers. Either way, it's got enough length to cover stock bars or lowering them. And we routed them down using the OEM mount points. And there's a little trick and tip here. The grommets that included are a little bit smaller than the stock ones because the stock rubber squishy lines are actually a lot larger diameter. So the kits come with this little P-clip, and we just took the rubber off of that one because, you know, it's silver, it doesn't look as clean as the stock one. So we took the little rubber band on the inside of it and put it on the stock one, as you can see right here, and that made up the difference. And now the grommet is nice and snug in there. And on the upper one, we just used the one that came with it because that's going to be hidden under the light. You're not going to see it anyways. So, alright, so a little update here on the Moto lines. They actually want you to cut off the stock donut from your OEM lines. And then what you'll do is you'll wrap that around that grommet there. And then you'll put it into that holder. So basically have a donut on top of a donut. Alright, and that's what it looks like when you have it installed there. So you got the grommet that comes built into the line, and you take the little donut that came on your stock ones, just cut a little slice in it, peel it off, real easy. Wrap that around the grommet and shove it in there. And that takes up, because the top one from the factory is just huge. So the hole for it is really, really large. So if you use the grommets that come with the lines, there'd be some slop in there. You could also crunch the bracket down on top of it, but this is a nice cleaner fit. And as before, we'll torque the upper banjo we did at 20, and then we're going to do the lower one in the same way. Alright, so now all we've got left to do is drain the brake fluid, get the air out of it. So what you're going to take is your cover off your reservoir, Now, most of you are going to probably have it slanted downwards a little bit, you know, for more comfortable. Well, it's probably best to loosen up the clamp bolts, tilt your reservoir up so that your top of it sits flush. That way when you pour fluid in it, you can fill it all the way up, because obviously, just like the rears, you got to make sure your reservoir is full. And then when you start draining it, make sure it doesn't run out. If it runs out and you start sucking in air, you got to start all over again. So fill it up without going too far. Don't want to spill it, make a mess. And like I said, just have it level instead of tilting forward so you can fill the reservoir all the way up. So once you have that filled up, come down here to your banjo and put on either a little mighty vac, or in this case we have the super vac. Give that a little bit of a pump and that will suck all the fluid down with it. And loosen that up. Right now it's just sucking air, and any minute now you should see fluid come through here. Alright, so once you bleed the air out of it, right now the deal is your pistons are all the way inside the calipers. They come from the factory completely open so you can actually install them on your rotor. So what happens is you need to pump this a few times, and what that's going to do is that's going to push fluid through your caliper and pinch down on your pads so that they run flush with your brake rotor. So make sure once you've gotten the air out of it, you do that, because you're going to probably need to put some more fluid in there, because it's going to pump through a little bit of your reservoir into the calipers to push the pistons in. So make sure you take that into account before you button it all up. Alright, so now that we've got the brake lines filled and the air drained out, we're going to torque the bleeder valve. The stock ones are about 4 or 5. The Brembos, because they're a lot larger, are actually about 10. So crank that down, 10 foot-pounds. Not too tight, not too loose. And check all the lines again. Now the reservoir should be filled about 3/4. You don't want to overfill it, because you got to remember your reservoir cap has that rubber boot in it, which is going to push down in it. So make sure you don't overfill your reservoir, otherwise when you drop this in there, it's going to puke out the sides and make a mess. So we'll put that in here. Tap it into place. Make sure it's seated correctly. Take the little screws. In there. Tighten the screws down. Make sure to do them evenly, a little bit on each side, a little at a time. Don't torque them too much. Doesn't take very much to seal your reservoir. We may have a little bit of seepage on the side where it got on the edge of that rubber boot. Don't worry about that. You just wipe it with a paper towel. And just keep watch for it. Make sure first time you use it, there's no fluids coming out. Give it a good squeeze. Should see a tiny little air bubble in your sight glass. If you don't, then you probably filled it up a little too much. Wipe that down, put on your little rubber boot, get the fluid out of there, and you're all set.